History is full of legendary moments. But what if I told you some of the stories we've grown up believing never even happened? From famous last words to dramatic heroics, many of these so-called historical facts are nothing more than myths. And today, we're exposing them. But before we dive in, make sure to like, share, and subscribe so you don't miss more eye-opening content just like this. Throughout history, we have been told tales about countless major events that seem too important to question in many ways. But some of these famous moments never actually happened. Whether it's a battle or an incident that we have grown up believing, these false events have shaped our understanding of the past. Let's take a look at some historical events that, surprisingly, never took place. The silent shout of Paul Revere. Under the moonlit sky of April 1775, Paul Revere set out on a journey that would echo through generations. The tale we've all heard, Revere galloping across the countryside shouting, "The British are coming," portrays him as the only revolutionary herald and a symbol of bravery. But history whispers a different story. Revere's midnight ride was not a dramatic spectacle, but a hushed mission. He warned a select few, patriots safeguarding weapons and leaders like John Hancock and Samuel Adams. His path was fraught with danger, British soldiers lurking in the shadows. A single cry could have ended his mission. Yet, in the silence, he carried the weight of a nation's hope. It wasn't Revere's voice that immortalized him, but the pen of Henry Wadsworth Longfellow, who spun myth into history. We believe the shout because it's grander than the truth. Nero, the fire in the fiction. In AD 64, flames engulfed Rome, consuming homes and lives in a tragedy that left the city scarred. Amid the chaos, a story began to take shape, a tale of an emperor, Nero, playing music while his people suffered. Over time, this narrative grew louder, evolving into the infamous claim that Nero fiddled as Rome burned. Still, this story is rooted not in fact, but in misinterpretation and myth. The fiddle didn't exist in Nero's time, and historical accounts suggest a ruler who may have been envisioning Rome's rebirth rather than celebrating its destruction. Shakespeare's creative liberties introduced the idea, and centuries of retelling solidified it into what many now accept as truth. French Revolution and the quote, "Let them eat cake." Marie Antoinette's infamous quote, "Let them eat cake," has been one of history's most enduring myths, often used to portray her as a heartless and out-of-touch ruler. The phrase, however, is likely a fabrication. It is a mistranslation of the French "Tu les manges de la brioche," meaning "let them eat brioche," which would have referred to a rich type of bread, not cake. But even that seems doubtful, as the phrase appears in a story written years before Marie Antoinette became queen. The writer's princess was described as oblivious to the plight of the poor, but Antoinette was only 9 at the time. Instead of being a detached ruler, Antoinette was known for her charitable actions. The myth likely arose as a tool to vilify her during the French Revolution, transforming her into a symbol of royal indifference, though history shows there was much more complexity to her life and reign. The burning of witches that never happened. The legend of witches burning in Salem lingers in our collective memory, but it's a story born of misunderstanding. In 1692, the Salem witch trials consumed the small Massachusetts town, yet no one was burned at the stake. The truth is no less harrowing. Over 3 months, 152 people, men and women, were accused of witchcraft, a crime redefined as a felony against the government. 19 were executed by hanging, but not by fire. Others languished in prisons so dire that 4 died from the appalling conditions. Then there was Giles Corey, an elderly man who refused to plead. His punishment? A slow, agonizing death under crushing stones. His defiant cry, "More weight," became his legacy. The myth of burning witches persists, shaped by medieval European practices. But Salem's horrors lay not in flames, but in fear and human cruelty cloaked as justice. In the aftermath of the stock market crash of 1929, an eerie story took root. Stockbrokers, devastated by financial ruin, were said to have thrown themselves from Manhattan skyscrapers in droves. This haunting image became an enduring symbol of despair during the Great Depression. Despite the dramatic rumors, not a single reported suicide occurred on Wall Street that day. The New York Daily News quickly debunked the claims, stating that if even half the alleged suicides were true, Wall Street would be desolate. In reality, national suicide rates were lower in October 1929 than in earlier months. The myth persisted, driven by dark humor and a need to process the era's chaos. Even when the story was totally based on lies, it captured the collective fear and uncertainty of a world grappling with economic collapse. The idea that Christopher Columbus proved the Earth was round is a myth. By 1492, educated Europeans already knew the Earth was spherical. Ancient Greek thinkers had demonstrated this as early as 600 BC. Historian Jeffrey Burton Russell states, "No educated person in Western civilization from the 3rd century BC onward believed that the Earth was flat." The myth originated in 1828 when Washington Irving wrote a romanticized biography of Columbus, falsely claiming Spanish geographers dismissed his belief in a round Earth. In reality, Columbus's achievement was proving transatlantic exploration possible, not challenging the shape of the Earth. The tale of William Tell and the apple is a striking example of absurdity. To rebel against oppression, a father must shoot an apple off his son's head. Legend has it that Tell's flawless aim not only saved his son, but also ignited Swiss rebellion against the Habsburgs, leading to independence. However, historians argue he likely never existed, his exploits mere fabrications of folklore. Even today, the people of Switzerland hold the story as something that is sacred, treating it more like a symbol of national pride. The sheer absurdity of the myth, risking a child's life as an act of defiance, only heightens its legendary status. Whether a daring act of rebellion or an exaggerated fable, the tale endures, blending bravery with a recklessness that feels almost too wild to believe. Our history is filled with myths that have captivated us for centuries, believing them as truths despite the lack of evidence to support them. It's human nature to exaggerate. After all, drama sells better than reality. Over the years, we have warped too many stories from our past, adding our own twists. If we continue this trend, the events unfolding now may someday be nothing more than distorted tales, leaving future generations with a history that's far from the truth. As we've seen, history isn't always what it seems. Many of the stories we take for granted were shaped by myth, misunderstanding, or even outright fabrication. So, what other historical myths do you think need to be debunked? Let me know in the comments. And if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe for more deep dives into history, and turn on notifications so you never miss an upload. See you next one.